Have you ever stopped to think why some men our age manage to convey elegance and sophistication just through the details they wear, while others, even investing in expensive clothes, end up giving an impression of carelessness or cutting corners in the wrong places? You know that moment when you're getting ready for an important meeting and, in the rush, you grab any belt you find first. Over the years, I've realized that the belt is one of the most underestimated accessories by men, but also one that can most sabotage an elegant appearance when used incorrectly for a long time. I made basic mistakes with belts that were ruining my looks without me even realizing it. I wore old, worn-out belts, or ones that simply didn't match the rest of the outfit, thinking no one would notice. Today I'm going to share with you the 7 most common belt mistakes that make any man look cheap, regardless of how much he spent on other pieces. And look, item number 5 is something I did myself for years, a proportion error that can instantly ruin any well-put-together look. So stay with me until the end because, in my experience, correcting these points will completely transform how you're perceived, both professionally and socially. Mistake 1. Belts too wide or too narrow for your proportion. It starts with a fundamental mistake, using belts that are too wide or too narrow for your body proportion. For years, I thought a wide belt was synonymous with masculinity. I wore belts of 4-5 centimeters, thinking this would give me a more imposing appearance. The result was the opposite. I looked like I was wearing a borrowed belt. The problem with belts that are too wide is that they can make you look shorter, especially if you don't have a tall stature. They visually cut the torso and create a disproportionate division. On the other hand, belts that are too narrow can look too delicate for men our age, giving an impression of fragility. The solution is to find the ideal width for your body type. For most men, belts between 3 and 3.5 centimeters are ideal for social and professional use. If you have a larger build, you can use up to 4 centimeters. The practical tip is, the belt should be proportional to the pants, belt loops, and your body type. And look, if you're noticing that these details make a difference, subscribe to the channel because I have many more tips based on real experience. Mistake 2. Ostentatious buckles with logos or flashy designs. Now, let's talk about ostentatious buckles with logos or flashy designs. I see many men our age using enormous buckles, with brand logos stamped on them, or designs that look more like trophies. The problem is that when you're over 40 and want to convey maturity, the buckle should complement the look, not be the star. Very flashy buckles create an unwanted focal point in the waist area. Instead of people noticing your overall good taste, they get distracted by the exaggerated buckle. Additionally, buckles with large logos can give an impression of insecurity, as if you needed the brand to validate your status. The solution is to invest in classic and discreet buckles. Simply rectangular, oval, or small square shapes in polished metal are always elegant. The golden rule is, if the buckle draws more attention than the rest of the outfit, it's probably too excessive. If you're enjoying these tips, leave your like on the video. Your interaction helps this content reach more incredible people like you. Mistake 3. Misalignment between belt and shoe. CIOLOR. This mistake is basic, but I still see it constantly. Misalignment between belt and shoe color. The rule is simple. Black shoes always with black belt. Brown shoes always with brown belt. It doesn't need to be exactly the same tone, but they should be in the same color family. The problem is when you wear brown shoes with a black belt, or vice versa. This creates a visual dissonance that breaks the harmony of the look and can give an impression of carelessness. I made this mistake myself for a long time, thinking no one would notice. But when I started paying attention to well-dressed men, I realized they always respected this basic rule. The solution is to have at least 2 quality belts, one black and one brown. This will cover 90% of your needs. The strategy is, when buying a new shoe, consider whether you have a belt that matches. Tell me in the comments, have you always respected this matching rule, or have you left the house and only noticed the mistake later? Mistake 4. Questionable quality leather or visibly WO. And let's talk about questionable quality leather or visibly worn belts. For years, I used synthetic belts or poor quality leather, thinking a belt was just a functional accessory. The problem is that bad leather ages poorly. It cracks, peels, loses color. Additionally, very worn belts with cracks or discoloration convey a message of carelessness. And when you're over 40 and want to be taken seriously professionally, these details matter a lot. The difference between quality genuine leather and synthetic is striking. Good leather ages gracefully, develops an interesting patina, and can last decades with proper care. The solution is to invest in good quality genuine leather belts. It may cost more initially, but the cost per use over the years totally compensates. The tip for identifying quality leather: touch the material, feel the texture, observe the flexibility. Good leather has a natural texture and adequate flexibility. And look, if you're seeing value in these tips tested in practice, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Mistake 5. Inadequate length with excess or lack of TP. And we arrive at the item I promised, something I did myself for years, using belts with inadequate length. There are 2 main problems. belts that are too long, where a huge tip is left hanging, or belts that are too short, where you can barely close them. The problem with belts that are too long is that the excessive tip creates unnecessary movement and can give a sloppy appearance. A belt that's too short can make you look like you've gained weight and don't want to invest in a new belt. The ideal rule is, after buckling at the waist, there should be between 10 and 15 centimeters of tip left. This allows the tip to pass through the first loop and be discreetly positioned. The practical tip is, when buying a belt, measure your real waist and add 15 centimeters. This is the ideal total length of the belt. If you have a belt that's too long that you like, a cobbler can shorten it. Leave it there in the comments. Have you ever had a problem with belt length? How did you solve this issue? Mistake 6. Reversible belts with compromised construction. Now, let's talk about reversible belts with compromised construction. The idea of reversible belts is attractive. One belt that serves two colors. The problem is that most sacrifice quality. For functionality, reversible belts usually have more fragile stitching, thinner leather, and buckles that don't fit well. Additionally, the reversal mechanism can fail over time. Another problem is that rarely do both colors have the same quality finish. One always looks better than the other, and you end up using only one side. The strategy that works best is to invest in two separate good quality belts. It will cost a bit more, but each will last much longer and have a superior appearance. Mistake 7. Stylistic inconsistency between belt and rest of the outfit, and we arrive at the last mistake. Stylistic inconsistency between the belt and the rest of the outfit. I'm talking about wearing a very formal belt with casual clothes, or a very casual belt with formal clothes. For example, wearing a polished leather dress belt with jeans and a t-shirt. The problem is that this inconsistency creates a disconnected appearance, as if you had put together the look hastily or didn't understand appropriate dress codes. The solution is to have appropriate belts for different occasions. A polished leather dress belt for suits and formal clothes. A casual leather belt with a more rustic finish for jeans. The rule is, the level of formality of the belt should match the level of formality of the rest of the outfit. Recapping the 7 mistakes. Inadequate width for your proportion. Ostentatious buckles. Color misalignment with shoes. Poor quality leather. Inadequate length. Poorly constructed reversible belts. And stylistic inconsistency. In my experience, correcting these mistakes will completely transform your looks. The belt may seem like a minor detail, but it has the power to elevate or destroy any outfit. Remember, investing in 2 or 3 quality belts is infinitely better than having a collection of cheap belts that don't do justice to your social position and maturity. So, which of these mistakes have you already made? What will be the first change you're going to make in your wardrobe? Leave your experience there in the comments, because I love exchanging ideas with men who, like us, understand that taking care of details is a matter of If the content was useful, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned because in the next video I'm going to show how to choose the perfect belt for each body type and occasion. Until then, if you made it this far, it's because you take improving your style seriously. So I prepared this next video for you to watch. It's the perfect step for you to continue evolving. And take a look at this playlist too. It has a complete map to dress like a true gentleman over 40. Stylish, elegant, and powerful every day. Until the next video.